Coming to America is a sequel to the cult classic Coming to America, this time directed by Craig Brewer. He's responsible for films like Dolomite Is My Name and the one of my favorites, Hustle and Flow. And this time he joins up with Eddie Murphy once again, who plays former Prince and now King Akeem, who discovers through his concierge Semi that while he was being in America, he somehow had relations with Leslie Jones and had a kid. From the last dying words of his father, he's tasked to go back to America, retrieve his son, and teach him how to be royalty for the throne of Zamunda. Now, out of all the Eddie Murphy comedies that are out there, I have to say Coming to America, the first one, is undoubtedly one of my favorites. There was something about this African prince being in an unfamiliar environment that always was just enjoyable to watching the film. Now, for this film, they seem to still go for the fish out of water approach, only this time it's his son learning the ways of Zamunda to be royalty and stuff, and we spend a good chunk of time in Zamunda. But when I said good chunk of time, I mean damn near the whole entire runtime of the film. Like, we visit New York maybe I think twice, and then the rest of the whole movie is just all Zamunda. Now, I like Zamunda. I think it's a very beautiful place, and I think what they've introduced in the first film was very, very interesting, and I was really fascinated by it. Like, seeing the royal culture and just all of its glory and things like that. It was, for its time in '88, it was just loved it. But if I'm being honest, and I know I'm gonna get flack for this, but hey, I have to be honest on this channel now. If I'm being honest, Zamunda ain't all that. I know. I mean, look, it really isn't. It really isn't. It's pretty much just this palace that's in the middle of Africa. And then when you step outside the palace, you see, beautiful landscapes and elephants and zebras running around and things like that. But other than that, it's there's really nothing else there in Zamunda. It's pretty much just, it's all empty. It's all hollowness. And all they have is just the palace here. And if I gotta be really frank with you, a good chunk of the movie, is set inside of this palace. But that leads you to think that, is this palace Zamunda or is this whole country Zamunda? Because there's really nothing really to be seen about this country other than the fact that, there's a bunch of people living in a castle. It's really unlike, dare I say, Wakanda from Black Panther. Like, you have people sort of walking through the streets. You have merchants trading things. They have a little ecosystem happening. Like, people are bartering and trading, making the city go afloat. They have technology all over the place. Like, there's legit life being breathed through this entire city of Wakanda. And so it feels like a real place. It feels like a place that could exist, and I wish it did exist. But contrasting that with Zamunda is really nothing more than just a palace with royalty living inside it, where they party, they drink, they live luxury, and then when they step outside, they breathe fresh air. But there's nothing cohesive that makes me really want to live in a Zamunda. It just looks like playing in Africa. It all starts to feel very empty and a bit lonely. If I was to live there, I felt like this film really had the potential to really show Zamunda in all of its glory. Like really show us what makes Zamunda the place to be. Like, what makes this thing something where we can visit. You know what I'm saying? Like, give us a postcard of Zamunda and show us where you want to go. But all of this vastness of land that's not even being utilized. You know what I mean? They're just kind of walking the fields and stuff like that. But there's really nothing else for us to see of Zamunda. And, it just it feels like, oh, give me more. But I say all that to say that as fine as a concept of Zamunda is, I feel like for the first film, it worked because, you only visit there for like a good 10 minutes of the film. And the rest of the first film, you're like in New York. You're literally in America, seeing this prince kind of like do his thing. But Zamunda is only introduced to you to just establish the character. You have a prince, he's royalty, he's looking for a wife. There's some arranged marriage rules that he's against. And he goes to America to kind of like, change from the inside out and things like that. But ultimately, the whole idea of Zamunda is only in your mind for 10 minutes, leaving you to understand what it is because it's a plot piece. The plot point where you can establish a character and just keep it moving. But in the new film, Zamunda is now the main stage. And so you really have to ask yourself how they're going to try to portray this city in all of its, in all of its glory, and all of its potential. And it's mostly just people inside, partying, dancing, doing their thing, but really nothing much is happening outside of that. So, I mean, like I said, I'm just being honest, man. I did feel a little underwhelmed of, being set in Zamunda, and I think that's just what sort of affected my enjoyment of the film, because it felt like a hollow place to really be in, to be honest with you. The cast is easily the best parts of the movie. This film has so many fucking cameos, like more than I would ever. I think any movie that would have like a good set of cameos, I think this movie beats it. This movie has so many fucking cameos. It's not even funny. Eddie Murphy, of course, he does his thing. He's fine. I won't say that he's funnier in this film. You know what I mean? I mean, he does the character justice, but I feel like in the first film he was funnier. Had more jokes. He was more so outside of his element. So I think just that notion made him funnier. But here, he's fine. He's fine. Arsenio Hall is obviously hilarious. You know what I mean? But I want to talk about that for a second too. But let me get through the whole casting first. Wesley Snipes as the general is just funny as fuck. Like, look, say what you want about Wesley Snipes, man. Like, dude is badass. But in this film, I think reasons why I was able to really just enjoy him for what it was because, he's just having fun. He's not taking this shit seriously, man. I mean, he is to a point, but he's just having fun. And he's able to have fun and still bring some life to his character, and I was fucking with him, man. Leslie Jones. Look, man, you get a lot of flack, but you did your thing in this one. She was hilarious in this one. I really enjoyed Leslie Jones, man. She brought like this ratchetness, to the role. She's she has like a lot of lines that I remember just for her being Zamunda and things like that. Like, she was actually really, really funny in this one. Like, I feel like this film was just all fan service. I feel like the film tried to really bring fans together just for like a good old time or stuff like that. And in some cases that can work. I think for here though, there's a lot riding on it just because it's been, almost 20 years, right? Like 20, 30 years, 98, 2008. Oh, shit. Point being, it's been a long time since the last film had came out. I feel like there was just a lot riding on this one for them to really kind of like give us something worthy of a sequel and kind of have it be so much fan service happening. I think that's what probably, affected the quality of the film, if I'm just being honest with you. These guys have Tiana Taylor's in here in all her finest. They got Dre from Power in here. They got Rick Ross in here. Tracy Morgan in here, obviously. Morgan Freeman. Michael Blackson. They got so many motherfuckers in here, man. Like, they just said, look, man, we're going to get all the motherfuckers black celebrities and just bring them in together and say, look, we're going to make Coming to America and just kind of have it fun for everybody. I'm surprised they don't have Kevin Hart in here. He's in everything. I want to talk about, the Sammy and Akeem's relationship. I think what made Coming to America, the original film, so iconic was the fact that, for one, Arsenio and Eddie Murphy's chemistry in there was just amazing. Amazing. Like, Arsenio wasn't just this guy kind of along for the ride. He had moments in there that helped push the story forward. But the chemistry was on point. The chemistry was so on point. And in this film, it's all gone. It's not really there anymore. It's pretty much all about Akeem and his son. And look, nothing against the guy who plays the son. I'm sure he did a fantastic job. It's just there really wasn't enough there for me to really care about their relationship. It's kind of just set on the wayside to kind of help with the father-son relationship. But if I'm being honest, man, I was really missing it. I was missing Arsenio and Eddie Murphy kind of going back and forth, having the little moments and things like that, saying some jokes here and there. I mean, they have jokes and stuff, but it's all just, it's isolated. Like, you see Arsenio Hall kind of like in his own scene, and then you see Eddie Murphy in his own scene, but they're not really having scenes together all that much where you can actually just see the comedy gold build onto each other. You know what I'm saying? It's all just centered stage around him and his son. Now the kid's name, Jermaine Fowler, who plays Akeem's son. He does a good job. He's fine. You know, nothing against him. Dude does he does a good job. He's fine. But ultimately, I thought that like his family structure and how he grew up and stuff was pretty interesting. I mean, Tracy Morgan plays his uncle, who pretty much played a father figure for him and helped raise him and stuff. And I wanted so much to just learn more about that dynamic. I wanted to learn, like, because this is pretty much his son living in America without his biological father. And I thought that the film was going to attack that, and it sort of doesn't. At this moment of the film could have been a lot better. Like, I feel like it was such a missed opportunity for them to really tackle that aspect of his life, because I mean, call me crazy, but I feel like the dichotomy between just Akeem's father figure like status and him being royalty, and Tracy Morgan's status, him kind of just be the uncle, he's middle class, and being a father figure for, you know, Hakeem's son. I just feel like all of that could have really cultivated something really tangible for the audience to really grasp, as far as like just, you know, what happens in black culture and things like that. And just seeing these two dads kind of go toe to toe and kind of like compete for his son's approval and things like that. That I felt like that could have been something honestly worthy of a sequel. You know what I mean? Because Akeem was somebody who was battling, you know, trying to find true love and trying to, you know, work through his identity in the first film and really want to change things for the better. And I feel like coming back from Africa to with this more so of a royal and conservative type mindset, coming back to America with now a son in mind, now knowing that he's a father, and learning new ways of how to transform his old views to something more progressive in a much more tangible and much more genuine way. You know, being around his family and being around Tracy Morgan as the father figure and things like that. I feel like that was something that could have really challenged a lot of notions that we see today. You know what I'm saying? And just seeing, you know, some kind of dialogue between him and Tracy Morgan going back and forth, I felt like it was something it could have been something really, really groundbreaking. But we didn't get it. We get like just some comedy with fan service about the son learning how to be royalty, and I feel like it was just the laziest approach, man. They could have really got deep with this shit, and they didn't, man. They just didn't. And one other thing I'm gonna say too about what I think was the biggest flaw for this film was that it transformed from being an R-rated film to a PG-13 film, and no, I always feel like anytime something is set in tone, is introduced as what it is, it needs to stay consistent with that. And anytime the tone changes up, and it creates a lot of inconsistency. Like, you have an R-rated film that has a lot of edgy jokes and a lot of iconic lines with curse words, but, you know, a lot of adults can pertain to that. And going into a much more kid-friendly, lighter, cleaner tone, you know, tends to compromise the nature of the whole story, and sometimes the nature of the jokes, especially if you're dealing with a comedy. And I think that's what kind of made it not as funny as the last one, because, you know, I'm an adult, you know, and I tend to laugh at a lot of adult humor. Sometimes kid humor if it's really, really funny, but there was a lot of adult humor and a lot of adult innuendos in the first film that I can relate to as an adult. Even when I was a kid and I saw that stuff, man, I was just like, dude, this is hilarious. You know what I'm saying? Because it was crude, it was rude. Seeing this now as a PG-13 film, as a show, as a movie that's supposed to kind of bring the audience more on a broader scale and for kids to watch, the jokes don't really sell as much. You know, they tend to fall flat. They don't really punch you in the way that the first film did. The look of the film did, in my opinion, look a bit superficial. The backdrop didn't look as clean as it should have. In the first film, the backdrop was always horrible. Like, we all knew that was green screen. We all know it was green screen. But we're only in here for 10 minutes of the film. So it's not supposed to be something that we're like, you know, supposed to focus on. But the entire second film is set in Zamunda. And so it would have been a lot easier if they just said, you know what, fuck studio, we're going to just film this whole shit in Africa. And that way things looked a little bit more practical and a little bit more authentic. But every shot I felt like, you know, everything was just so clean. Sun effect, like the glare effect on the faces was just shinier than usual. And me being an actor and being on set, I could tell that I was a studio light. I could just tell. And in all the locations that they shot at, it just all felt like things were on studio, and it just kind of brought me out of that whole dirty feel of New York. You know, like the first film had like this just dirty, you know, grungy, grounded feeling of New York and stuff, and it really put you into that world. And with this one, things are a little bit more, you know, refreshed. Things are a little bit more clean and tidy, and it's just it feels all fake. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna give this film a 5 out of 10. Yeah. It was a bit disappointing, man. It really was. I felt like had they just, you know, set this film in New York, you know, like they did the last one, and just keep it in New York. I mean, the film is called Coming to America, you know, not Coming to Zamunda. And they put it in Zamunda most of the film, and they come to America only like a couple times. Did any of the writers think about that? But yeah, like I said, most of it's just the script's fault. But kudos for Eddie Murphy for, you know, copping that 125 mil. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you got your money's worth. So, you know, if you hated or loved the movie, he ain't mad at all. So that's my review on Coming to America. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you love this video, hit subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay? Peace.